Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elisa Marie Designs. I'm Elisa Maria. Today is Sunday, July the 20th. And if this video looks familiar, it's because it is. I was thinking, I shoot a new video for each thing that I do, like Self-Care Sunday or the Jaws reading or Motivational Monday. And the audio that I used on this particular painting was so well received. I thought I can use this for my Self-Care Sunday instead of doing a diamond painting session and a voiceover. It was a crazy weekend. It was my mom's 85th birthday yesterday, and then during the week the ceiling fell in my office. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use this video. And not everyone, is into Self-Care Sunday or into the square drills that I think I use this for. So I figured it's okay. It's okay. We're going to be okay. This is self-care. This is Self-Care Sunday, and I'm self-caring it every day. I did want to add a few things that I did during the week. I don't know if I'll be able to pop them in here, but we'll see. Let's see how it goes. I really wanted to do Self-Care Sunday after whatever I did yesterday, which is like a total blank. Like it was less than 24 hours ago. What was I doing yesterday? It may have been for the event, which I've been asked to host along with Ren at the Diamond Art Emporium, and Tammy and Rich, who some of you all know. And I also have my own Raven event that I am doing with anyone that wants to join up and be a member, because I want it to be more of a intimate, cozy kind of self-care Sunday vibe. There's a lot of stories and information, and if it resonates with you, then please join up, because it's going to be another great event. And then who knows where that will go after the first year. I'm actually, you hear the page is turning. I'm turning the page to what is today's reading in the Book of Awakening. Learning how to float. Oh boy, what is going on with the water? And this is so weird to me. It's not that I see signs everywhere, but the signs are there. So what did my mother tell me to watch yesterday? I have to look it up because I want to be precise. So hold on a second. Okay, so here it is. She was telling me about a series called One Step Beyond. I'm like, I never heard of it. She's like, yeah, it's like the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits. I'm like, never heard of it. She's like, well, when you hear the music, you'll know. I'm like, all right. So she said, we were talking about my dad, and my dad took her to see a movie that was kind of like a premonition of the Titanic. And she said they did a show, I think it was Beyond, oh gosh, hold on a minute. Okay, here we go. One Step Beyond, night of April the 14th, and it premiered in January of 1959. And we all have our favorite Twilight Zones, and we all have what was the other one, Outer Limits, I think it was, or Alfred Hitchcock stories. And I said, okay, let me see how corny this one's going to be. And it was actually really very good. And it had to do about a woman who she's getting married, and so that, if you've been a bride, you know the tension that you're under there. But she is having these nightmares about losing her husband and not being able to, reach him. He's drowning. She can feel the water. It's cold. Oh, if I didn't tell you, the night of April 14th is when the Titanic hit the iceberg. And the beginning of the show starts with an earlier premonition. That's how, who was it? Rod Sterling that used to do like a little opening story about the story you're about to see. And so he does a story about a premonition about the premonition. And this morning I wake up and I have been seeing a recurring number. And usually it's when I pick up my phone and I will do a screenshot of my clock. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I keep seeing the same number every time I pick up my phone. And you know, your phone is a clock, and so it's like 12 hours later. So last night I picked up my phone and it said 8:26. This morning I picked up my phone, it said 8:26. And this has been happening constantly. And not only is 8:26 the number that I'm seeing, but 8:26 is my birth number. But it really doesn't mean anything, I don't think, if you keep seeing your birth number. There's a kind of phenomenon when you see something, do you know, like when we say, oh, like, okay, I just said it recently. I just said, I'm having a raven event. I never really noticed ravens, and now I see ravens everywhere. But there's actually a name for that, that once you bring something into your vision or into your mind, then you begin to notice it all the time. Okay, so maybe my birthday's coming up. Maybe that's why I keep seeing my birthday. But I said, okay, is there an angel number for 826? And where does it lead me to? It leads me to Mary, Star of the Sea, which is the church that is in Cape May, Star of the Sea. And it was a beautiful Pinterest painting of Mary, Star of the Sea. And I'm like, oh my God, I just watched this Titanic show last night. And Cape May is where I had my honeymoon. And when I need a validation and I had just got done praying, I usually hear church bells or any kind of bell. But it's always been like church bells. And there's a church not too far from me in my neighborhood. Well, in South Philly, there's never a church too far away from you. So I would always... If I would say, give me a sign, church bells would start ringing. I'm like, what is it? Now today I'm opening this up. Are they connected? I don't know. But let's find out. July 20th, learning how to float. When we stop struggling, we float. Okay. So I told you it was kind of a hectic weekend. And I think I kind of reached my breaking point yesterday, where I don't only just have recurring numbers that hit me, I have recurring situations. Maybe like some of you have recurring situations that, what was it called? I was on Instagram, and Alicia Silverstone, for those of you that know who Alicia Silverstone is, you know, Clueless, okay, because even if you're not from my generation, Clueless is still a pretty kind of cool movie. She did a little, like a reel, and she's like, my current situationship. Oh my God, this is a new word. Situationship. So I have a situationship, and I don't know if that means a relationship with someone, but I guess it does. Well, I guess the situationship is a relationship with someone, and it keeps coming up. And my son came over yesterday, no, the day before, and I had a long conversation with someone, and my son comes over. He's like, so I heard that you talked to so-and-so. I'm like, what is it with this family? You know, I mean, is anything private? Is anything like, you know, just between me and whoever it is in my family, that we are working things out and trying to understand different relationships within the family? And it was upsetting. And I wasn't upset during the time of the conversation, but I was upset now talking about it to my son, because he's affected also. You know, we're kind of on the perimeter of my family. You know, there's the inner circle, like the clique, and then we're on the perimeter. And that doesn't, it does, I guess it does bother me, because I always want to know what makes a clique. And it's always the meanest people. It is. I mean, think about the people that you went to high school with. You know, the clique were the people that were so mean to everybody else. And for some reason, they get held up into this, like, esteem of being the people that you want to be around. Like, you want their validation. Like, well, they let me in the clique. No, they're not going to let you in the clique. They'll let you be like a minion that circles their orbit, but they don't let you in the clique. And I think it's like that even in families. There's the clique, there's the one that runs the show, and everybody just caters to this person, and they're the meanest, emptiest, evilest person. And like, what is that energy? Especially when you are a person that wants to gravitate towards the people, and you have people in your life that are positive and creative and have ideas and are builders, and yet when it comes to the one relationship that you're born into, it only takes one, and they're usually outsiders, that comes into the relationship either by, a family friend, or they marry into the family and they become close to the family, and yet they upset the entire dynamic of the family. And this is the situationship that I'm in, that I'm trying to understand, not because I want a relationship with this person, because that's dead, but there's still that need to understand. I am the person that my middle name should be, I want to understand. So, I guess that's my message for today. Give up the struggle. Just float. When first learning to swim, I didn't trust the deep. No matter how many assuring voices I heard from shore, I strained and flapped to keep my chin above the surface. It exhausted me, and only when exhausted did I relax enough to immerse myself to the point that I could feel the cradle of the deep keep me afloat. I was trying to remember when I learned how to swim, and I can't remember. And I was like, well, when's the first time that you went like near water, near a pool or an ocean? Like, I was a camp kid. I loved camp. I couldn't wait. I think I've told you guys, when the camp schedule came out, I was a YMCA kid. My cousin Geraldine ran the YMCA. It's where my husband now goes. It's now a gym. It's where he goes to work out. And I was a camp kid, and just always just a loner too as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends around me as a kid. And I would, my dad bought me a patent blue ballerina bag. And it was to put ballerina shoes in, and it had ballerina shoes, logo on the front. And I looked at this navy blue patent leather bag. I thought it was the shiniest, most prettiest thing I've ever seen. It was round, and it zipped around, and you opened it up. It was almost like a mini luggage, but it was for like your little tutu and your ballet shoes. And I just was like, I don't know what he's thinking. I threw the ballet shoes out of the bag. And I ran upstairs, and I put my journal in there, my pen, my snacks, my skate key, because I never had shoes on. So my skates were always on my feet. I never had shoes. I mean, I had shoes, but I didn't wear shoes. I wore skates. And did I ever put shoes in my bag? If I had shoes, they were Dr. Scholl's, because they made a lot of noise, and I love to drag my feet with them. And I went to camp, and I walked to camp myself. So for me to walk to camp, I had to walk out my front door, make a right, and then make another right, and just walk straight. And I knew that when I passed the Termini sign, which is a famous bakery in Philadelphia, I walked straight down 8th Street, that the next block I would make a left and I would see the YMCA sign. I went to camp by myself. I don't even know how old I was. And I was there all day. And they would take us on these field trips, and they would take us swim. I remember them taking us swimming. Did I learn to swim in camp? Did I learn to swim on a family vacation in Florida? Did I wear swimmies? I don't remember any of this at all. I don't even know if I remember being in the water. I mean, I do remember being in water. I think I remember going in the low end of the pool and walking until you kind of bounce off your tippy toes, but you're right at that line where you can bounce into the deeper water, because like it goes like from what, like 4 feet to 6 feet. And you can bounce, and then you're in the deep end, but you could still turn around real fast and, doggy paddle over to the... But I always remember not wanting to be afraid. And I think because I was by myself a lot, I didn't have other kids around me or like egging me on or calling me names that like I was afraid or a chicken or something like that. But I kind of just did. I remember I used to hug the end. I used to hug the ridge of the pool and kind of like hand walk my way over, to the ladder, just in case. But I do remember that feeling of like floating. But then thinking, I'm going to get exhausted and drown and just float to the bottom. I don't know. Maybe that's the lesson I need to learn here. But I can imagine the feeling of when you get into deeper water, how you float. Even when we went to Florida and I did go to the pool, I never went into the deep end. I never went into the deep end. I was not in the deep end of the pool. I went all the way over to the children's side and I sat on the steps and I just kind of waded in waist-high water. Am I afraid of water? No. Is this the message? I don't know. Okay, so let's keep going. I've come to understand that this struggle we all replay between doubt and faith. Well, yeah, sure. When you're tiptoeing through the pool and you're kind of like, should I press really hard on my toes and propel myself forward into the deep water? Can I do it? And then, the doubt comes in and you turn around. This is all about, too, meeting your edge. Because think about the pool. Think about that line where it's like you have that certainty under your feet and your toes are hitting the ground of the pool. But then when you propel forward, there's that uncertainty, like how really deep is it? Like, can I go under and still touch the bottom? And how far does my head go under? So that's like what, the Raven is about too, coming up. One of the classes is meeting your edge. What do you do when you meet the edge? I always think of the edge as being like the edge of a cliff, or standing on a rooftop, or anywhere where you look down from the edge of things. I remember being at a party that I helped my girlfriend cater, and he was the richest man in Manhattan. He owned the most real estate in Manhattan, and he was having a party, and I was there because my friend Tony Luke did a movie called The Nail, and it was being shown there. And was that the catering event? No, that was another thing. Okay, I was there just for Tony. And this residence, it was in the meatpacking district. And I'll tell you, there's so many hidden gems in New York that when you go in, I don't know if we took I think we took an elevator up that was big enough, because I think his car was actually in this where he lived. Like his car was, it was the artwork, everything, but he had a floating deck. And let me tell you, not for the faint of heart, not for people with vertigo, because you cannot see you could see you could see the balcony, you could see the walls around it, but you can also see all of Manhattan. And it's like standing on the sky. It was so disorienting. And there's like another edge. So I always think of that too, meeting your edge. Like, are you going to step out onto this balcony that has a floating floor and walls around it, and you're kind of like standing on the sky? Or are you going to pull back? Doubt and faith. When thrust into any situation over our head, our reflex is to fight with all our might the terrible feeling that we are sinking. I think Mark Nepo went to my camp. You know, I just looked up to see where I was in this painting, and I'm just realizing that I'm painting a mermaid, a gigantic mermaid. This is Daydreamer by Curtis Frankovich, and she is breaking through the bottom of the ocean. She's breaking through the top of the ocean, and she's enormous because the orcas that are around her look like goldfish in comparison to perspective. And you know, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Like, I didn't put all this together, that I'm actually painting a mermaid and an ocean. So when thrust into any situation over our head, our reflex is to fight with all our might the terrible feeling that we are sinking. And it's like that too when you're a kid and you're learning how to go into the deep end. You know, you're because, like I had said, when fear would come up for me, I never wanted to be afraid, because I would always say to myself, what are you afraid of? And there's a lot of situations in my life where I don't know where I picked up the things that I picked up, because I was very much a loner kid. And I was a kid that grew up in the 80s. And it was like no joke. I mean, we joke about it now, but it was like no joke. Like, we were on our own. Like, the biggest punishment that you could have got, the biggest fear, if I feared anything, it was, you're not allowed to go outside today. Oh my God. Oh my God. It was like the apocalypse if you were not allowed to go outside. So I really don't know. And being a loner kid, and being a kid that was never really inside the house, I mean, I had strong friendships with a few kids growing up, but I wasn't like, I wasn't part of a pack. Even though we were a lot of kids, there were tons of kids on my street. And I didn't grow up on one of the smaller streets. I grew up on a larger street, and there were a ton of kids on my street. Like, if I was going to sit here right now and even think about how many kids were on my street, there had to be no less than 20. And then you went to the smaller streets, and forget it. That was like a whole school of kids that were on one street. So yeah, I had my little girlfriends and all, but basically, like, I always felt apart from them. So I really don't know where I learned to do the things that I learned to do. I think it was maybe camp counselors, because I always gravitated towards older kids. And I certainly was always with the camp counselors. I was always like wanting to know what they were doing and what was next on, what are we doing next? Where's the camp calendar? Yeah. So I'm trying to think, like, where did I learn to fight that terrible feeling of sinking when thrown into situations where I'm over my head? And I think that those situations always came up for me more in an academic arena and in a professional arena. Take diamond painting. I was in over my head, but I knew that I enjoyed what I was doing. And so I wanted to learn how to swim. How do I swim with this school of fish of diamond painters? What can I learn from them? How do I keep my head above water? How do I make my channel engaging? What ideas can I come up with? So Mark continues, when thrust into any situation over our head, our reflex is to fight with all our might the terrible feeling that we are sinking. Yet the more we resist, the more we feel our own weight and wear ourselves out. There's so many ways to word a message, isn't there? I mean, I think I don't get a feeling of sinking. I think for me, what resonates for me is a feeling of the ground moving from under my feet. That's the feeling that I get. It's not sinking. It's maybe, there's the certainty and I feel very solid. And then there's the uncertainty. And, there was a lot. I mean, I think when I started my YouTube channel, I just turned on my phone and started talking. And then that was it. I never looked back. But I think at that time, the goal was to have an outlet for me to talk and not, it's like a journal, really. Because your journal just holds your secrets. Like you're just writing and you're witnessing what you're writing. And even if I were to talk to John, which I did at the time, which was grieving honor and just grieving everything. I mean, my God, please, I lost my businesses through the pandemic. I lost my home because I left. I walked away from a marriage. I lost my son for a little while because he was confused. Honor was caught in this mix. I lost my father. I lost my home, which was my yoga studio, because I had left before the pandemic because my dad was sick, and then my dad died. And then I left the marriage. And then it was like just a domino effect. So there was just so much that I was grieving, and it's like you don't even know what you want to talk about, like you're just you're out of yourself, did I feel like I was sinking? No, I just felt detached, like just overwhelmed from the brain. And so like there was just this uncertainty where even when you're walking, like where to place your feet. And speaking to another person, you then have to take into account, what are you laying down on the other person? How much space can they hold? What are they thinking? You certainly are aware now, which is why the artist way, here's another message. The artist way, one of the artist's tools is that you go on an artist date alone because you don't want to have to be concerned with what another person is feeling or thinking, or if they're bored, if they're having a good time. So for me to not want to talk to John was because I then had to take into account what he was thinking. And so that's what a journal is for. You just have to take yourself into account. And that for me is what my YouTube channel was about. It was, of course it was being, uploaded to the world, but it was, I really wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking that I need an outlet. And in a way, I still need to be seen. And so the message or the feeling that I always come back to when I'm in that situation, for me, is not sinking, but being in a storm and finding the center of the storm where everything else can spin around me. Is that a feeling of detachment? I don't think so, because I'm still observing what is going on around me. I'm just not stepping into it. But I am very much aware of what is going on around me. And so Mark continues, at times like this, I remember learning to float. Mysteriously, it required letting almost all of me rest below the surface before the deep would hold me up. It seems to me, almost 40 years later, that the practice of finding our faith is very much like that. We need to rest enough of ourselves below the surface of things until we find ourselves upheld. So when I read the line, the practice of finding our faith is very much like that. We need to rest enough of ourselves below the surface of things until we find ourselves upheld. So two things came to mind. I get up every morning and I say, "Hi, Jesus." It's the first thing that I say, you know. What can I do for you today? How are you today? Much like I would talk to a friend. And there, you know, after listening, and when I find a struggle, this to me is just like, if you need to rest and give up the struggle and float, but you need to take that leap of faith that Jesus has got the wheel. Because if you're going to do the practice of learning how to float and letting go, and you're still on your tippy toes with doubt, you're meeting your edge, but you have to take that leap of faith. And I also find that when I take that leap of faith where I need to rest and just float, that comes from my diamond painting. Nothing like empties my mind more, because I get into a rhythm. And a rhythm, right? It's like walking meditations. You get into a rhythm. When I do my yin practice, and I'm very much aware to do yin is to you have to let everything go. And this is something that I'm going to bring up in the Raven event. We're going to learn a little yin. It's going to go with meeting your edge. It's going to go with that talk that we're going to have during that event. When I am a yin teacher, I'm a restorative teacher, I'm a vinyasa teacher, if you didn't know. So the practice of yin is that you engage nothing. You don't engage your muscle. So if you were in a yoga class and you were sitting and you were leaning forward, and your instructor might say, you know, see if you can get your hands around the arches of your feet and lift yourself up and pull yourself forward and fold even deeper, you're engaging the muscle. Whereas in yin, you engage nothing. Your feet flop out, your legs relax, you fold comfortably forward, and there's your edge, and you just breathe. And you let the weight of your body keep moving you forward as you let go, and you begin to float. You float into the feeling of your body being compressed by just letting your breath take you deeper. And you get deep. You want to get deep below the surface of the muscle. You want to go through the muscle. You want to get under the muscle. And you want to get into where all those hidden depths are in your body. So that's what I thought there. Well, that's my yin practice. That's my journaling practice. That's my walking practice. That's my faith. We need to rest enough of ourselves below the surface of things, until we find ourselves upheld. And I will tell you, after my yin practice, I do it every Thursday. I don't know if I put the pictures up, you guys, of my yin practice. I'll actually put them here. But Fufi was on the mat with me, and I have my phone next to me because my teacher is navigating through the class. And after I wanted to tell her something, I wanted to tell her that your reading of Pema Chodron is what inspired the Raven class. And she just was like, what? Like, I'm inspiring a diamond painting class? But I couldn't even get the words out because I had yoga brain. Like I was so relaxed. It was kind of like, you know, walking out into that balcony in the meatpacking district in some rich man's condo, whatever it is, and feeling like I was floating in the sky. You know, just, that's the way you feel after a yin class. You feel like you are floating, like you've just moved so much new blood and oxygen through your body, and your muscles are so relaxed. You're kind of like Gumby. You're kind of like an alien being. Well, you are, you know, you are, you know, a spirit in this beautiful body, but you just feel, you just feel radiant. You just feel the energy just expanding all around you. And I said, Felicia, I'm gonna have to talk to you later because my mouth hasn't, you know, caught up to my body or my brain yet. So that's what I thought about when I read that. So Mark's next thing that he says is, we need to rest ourselves enough below the surface until we find ourselves upheld. This is very hard to do. I think I gave you guys a couple examples. But the essence of trust is believing you will be held up if you let go. And that's true in the yin practice, because you will feel yourself. It's a behavioral pattern. And again, I'm going to go back. I'm watching myself with tweezers, and I'm saying my behavioral pattern when looking at a section on my canvas is, oh, this is a big color blocking part of this canvas. Let me get my diamond painting pen and my 15 placer. That's my behavioral pattern. But I've broken that pattern here, and I've learned to let go of that and slow down. And it's like that in yin. It's like that when, especially if you have a vinyasa practice also, where the postures are the same for both practices. But in one, you're engaging, you're stepping in, and in the other one, you're retreating and you're letting go because you want to get to a deeper meaning below the surface. The essence of trust is believing you will be held up if you let go. And I might have, even myself included, or students, that they're moving forward with their breath, but there's still that behavioral pattern of, let me grab my feet and move myself forward. Or you might find that your body is kind of jerking backward, but that's an intuitive thing that you should go with. Once you let go and you feel the body start to release those intrinsic muscles below the bigger muscles, it's like, oh wow, like I can really feel breath by breath, or even second by second, these little movements in my body that are taking me deeper, and the experience becomes deeper. And the release becomes even more, where I feel upheld and I feel like I'm floating, because you've juiced up those muscles. And though we can practice relaxing our fear and meeting the deep, there's no real way to prepare for letting go other than to just let go. That's true. You know, how do you prepare to let go? I used to joke around in my yoga classes that I taught that I wouldn't use the words let go because they were trigger words for me. It always felt like something on my to-do list that I had to do. Like, here's what I'm doing today. Oh, did I put let go on the list? Oh, I have to do that too. But you can't prepare for it, you know, which is why it never got checked off the list. You just have to do it. And I think that that is the harder thing. And that's why we have a practice, whether it's taking a walk or doing a meditation or doing a practice or doing our diamond painting. You know, you just have to let go of the multi-placer, Elisa, you know, and just let go of that, because you're getting a deeper meaning, a deeper feeling of relaxation when you take it slow, when you take it one drill at a time, when you use a tweezer or your single placer. Once below the surface, it's not by chance that things slow down, go clear, feel weightless. That's true too. You got yourself there. You got yourself below the surface. And even when I am diamond painting, because he says here, once below the surface, it's not by chance that things slow down. Once I take my time, and really teaching the square kit that I got from Diamond Art Emporium, well, I wanted to make a tutorial, right? I'm of service to you, and I am slowing down to teach the class. And it was beneficial to me also, because every time after that I went to diamond paint, I picked up my tweezer and put down my multi-placer. So it wasn't by chance. Because that does, and here I am, I'm writing in my journal right now that I was using the pen and I was trying to use a multi-placer, and I was feeling anxious and rushed and nervous, and I'm writing those notes down. I keep a journal next to me so that I can capture all this, because I am always looking for a deeper meaning, and I want to feel clear, and I want to slow down, and I want to feel weightless. When I was using the tweezer and the single placer, I was feeling my mind slow down, my breath slow down, my heart rate slowed down. And what else was slowing down? I felt cooler in this extreme heat. Maybe my blood pressure even slowed down. But I was below the surface, you know. Perhaps faith is nothing more than taking the risk to rest below the surface. Which is why, you know, what I'm thinking about right now, I think Shavasana, where your class ends and you rest, and I've always said this, is the hardest asana to learn. Asana is a yoga posture. Shavasana, and especially if you have the privilege to be a teacher and you teach the same cues in the class, and you get to watch your students and how they come into a posture, how they support their body. And you would think, well, Shavasana must look the same for everybody, right? You lay down on the mat and you just relax. You let the practice marinate. It is the hardest practice from my own practice and practicing Shavasana, and also watching my students practice Shavasana, which is why I would break down Shavasana like an architect, you know, just going through each point of your body that was on the mat, because it is difficult for a lot of people to lay still, to be totally supine, to not try and rush the end of the class and be like, okay, this is the end, I really don't need to do it. It's like the people that don't want to stretch after they get done doing exercise. I don't really need to stretch, it's not important, but it is important. And so you're lying on your mat and you're allowing your body to rest. Really, I always wanted to build a Shavasana that allowed the feeling of your bones literally being left on the mat. That we can't say That we can't stay there only affirms that we must choose the deep again and again in order to live fully. That we must move through the sense of sinking before being upheld is what trusting the universe is about. Well, this is an interesting instruction, one that I've never gotten from Mark Nepo before. I've gotten walking meditations. I've gotten, sitting, watching meditations. But this one is to fill your bathtub with warm water. Hold your hand open, palm up, with the back of your hand on the surface of the water. Feel the effort required to keep your hand on the surface. Breathe slowly and relax, letting your hand enter the water. As your hand relaxes, feel yourself meeting the deep. While breathing slowly, keep placing your hand in the water and practice entering the deep and resting below the surface. Practice moving beyond the sense of sinking. Practice the soft attention needed to realize when you are beginning to be upheld. And that is the reading for July 20th, Learning to Float. When we stop struggling, we float. And I'm practicing right here, going deeper with my diamond painting practice. And I believe the first thing that I did here was, you can actually go back and see this same video where I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll link it below because you're going to see this video even once again when John reads Jaws, because like I said, not everybody's into Self-Care Sunday. And not everyone was probably into, I can't remember, was this a Whip Wednesday maybe that I did here? Like I said, I'll link it below. But I do find a deeper meaning in my diamond painting. And when I was feeling myself struggle with the diamond painting pen, and I love my diamond painting pen. It's a rain stick pen, and it does add to my diamond painting also. It does. I like the sound of it. I like, hearing that rain sound, and it's just another layer of relaxation for me when I'm diamond painting. But also listening to the cues is another way that I go deeper into my diamond painting, and I get a deeper understanding of it. And I've gotten that when you write things down, you are able to retain them more, so that when that cue comes up again, that's the practice, you do it over and over. When that cue comes up again, I know, oh, you know what, I'm getting that feeling like I'm not enjoying this anymore. And it's such a bummer, when you go from having a relaxing time diamond painting and you pick something else up, or you change something, or the putty starts to stick, and I don't have that with a tweezer. I don't have the putty drama that I have, or the wax drama. It's the same thing with the air pen. I don't have to worry about putty, but with the air pen, there's, I have to get into there's that little humming sometimes that, sometimes that's very relaxing and sometimes it isn't. I'm just going over my work, and I'm just, looking at things, making notes, and what I can tell you. I don't know if I started to talk here or not. I guess I should find that out. No, not talking. I'm looking to practice another session. I like the fact that I did read and I did take the time to look things over, and I did take the time to set myself back up and decide, am I going to go back in and do another section? And I did, because I remember I just wanted to capture that feeling again of just moving deliberately also. And I think now this is something that I want to think about now too. And I brought this up in one of my videos during the week. I think it was the square drill practice, second part 2. That this is a very deliberate practice, and by that I mean, even though the artwork is done for you, and even though the drills have been picked out for you, and the palette has been picked out for you, and where to put them has been drawn out for you, this still is a very deliberate practice. So you don't have to think about creating a mermaid. You don't have to think about what she's going to look like. You don't have to think about where the colors are going to go. But it's still a very deliberate practice. And in watching this again and writing down the cues that I was feeling anxious with the pen, I'm wondering if I still am feeling like this is a deliberate practice. Like, I'm being very intentional right now, placing these drills with a tweezer and placing them one by one, and feeling like I have better control because I'm able to see. And when I pick up with a tweezer, I'm already picking up a square drill correctly because I'm picking it up from 2 of the 4 sides. In either way I pick it up, top to bottom or side to side. And so there's this, already this faith, like where when you pick up with a multi-placer, there is still a little doubt. Are the lines straight? Is there a bold spot? When you get that bold spot that repeatedly keeps, not picking up the drill in the same place. So there is, like, your mind is not able to relax and rest and go under to deeper things that this is your time, right? So we're so much on the surface all the time with so much stimulus that we're being hit with around us. So many things that our hands are taking care of, right? We take care of our family and our loved ones and our work and ourselves. But here, this is very deliberate, where we are tending to our craft. And just those little things, those little intrinsic things, like picking up these drills with a placer, it's a totally different feeling than picking them up one by one. And one was making me anxious and one was making me relaxed. It's like my yoga practice. I'm able to feel the little tiny intrinsic muscles begin to relax because I don't have to think about all the other things that I think about when I'm holding a multi-placer. So am I still being deliberate in my work? Or am I thinking that, because I said this also when I was, again, it was the square drill practice. Who knew the square drill practice was going to take me to such deeper lengths? But I'm saving part 3 to really address dark drills, black drills. And there is an artist that I like. Her name is RK Sensei, and she is doing a huge canvas. She's in the Philippines, so she was very grateful that she was able to get a diamond art painting. And oh, I don't know who the artist is, but it's huge. Oh my gosh, I'll write it here when I come back to edit. And a lot of black in this one section, and she was putting them on one by one. And I'm like, she's smart. She's doing it with a tweezer. She knows that big blocks of black, they never look right. But then her hand got tired and started cramping, and she was like, I'm just over it. I'm going to use the multi-placer, even though I know that my lines aren't going to be as straight and they're going to be a little crooked. I just want to get this section done. Now for me, I would have said, okay, I'm not going to push through this. It's time to put the pen down because I have a deeper association to my work. I know pushing through is just not going to give me, I want to get the experience. I want to take that deep dive. I want to go under. I want to know all the things. And when I was diamond painting, my own example of that was when I was diamond painting a custom that I had done from Dreamer Designs, and it was Woman in Hat with Feather Boa, and she had this big black boa around her neck. I'm like, this is going to be a cinch. I'm going to get done. How many rows here? How many? Like more than 12, 15, 20 rows? I'm just going to get that 15 placer out. Oh God, it was more than that. It had to be 30 rows of black around her neck. And I just thought I was just going to boom, 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 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. And then I started to see demarcation lines, and I started to see where they really weren't evening up. They weren't buddying up, and they weren't side by side. And I must have spent so much time on those rows. It took more time than it would have if I was deliberate and intentional in my placing and did them one by one. Something to think about. So whether you are floating or you are holding the center of the storm, I hope you found this reading beneficial in some way. And tomorrow, I've been going right into the next reading because these stories kind of tie together. So I'll be back tomorrow with another reading from Mark Nepo. I usually don't read the next reading, but this one is one that I love. July 21st is Revealing Who We Are, but it's actually the one underneath Ubuntu. I am because you are because I am, and that's a deep African way of being. I love this reading. I even have the corner of the page bent down because I love this reading. The pages are now falling out of this book. I have to get in touch with Barnes & Noble or someone or some place that can actually bind this book for me. I don't want to buy a new one. I want this book. I've been carrying it around for over 10 years. I have so many notes and so many thoughts written everywhere, and bookmarks and, you know, little tip-in pages that I've added my thoughts to, but I want to get it bound. So I want to get it to where it's like maybe in a binder, and keep the pages. I have washi tape in there too, that it's holding the pages inside so they don't fall apart. This book is so beloved by me. I hope you like it too. The Book of Awakening. Having the Life You Want by Being Present to the Life You Have by Mark Nepo. And I will leave you with the rest of the music as I very intentionally place the last of my square drills.